In what might be one of our more challenging Believe in the Browns episodes, this is the playoff edition. The Browns' playoff hopes going into the game against the Bills this weekend. Eric Drew, man, this might be a tough one. But Eric, how about we start with you here with number 5?
Well, for starters, whether it's Moonlight or La La Land, the fans of the Browns must be living in a fantasy world to be thinking that they're going to make the playoffs. So that was just a throwback to the 2017 Oscars. Yeah. So the Browns want to make the playoffs. They're going to have to go streaking. Shout out to Will Ferrell. They are 3-6. They are behind the Jets. The Dolphins and Bills by 3 games in the AFC East. They've lost head-to-head games with the Jets and Dolphins and play the Bills this week. So yeah, a lot of ground to make up on those teams. They are 2 games behind the Patriots and Chargers, losing both those games head-to-head. That being said, they're going to have to go. I'm predicting about 7-1 the rest of the way to make the playoffs. Preferably, if they want to lose a game, it would be the Commanders because it's an NFC team, and it's not going to hurt their AFC record.
Going to be one of those episodes. How about Drew? Hit us with number 4.
It is most certainly going to be one of those episodes. Eric actually alluded to this already. He said they might need lots of help. This is number 4, lots of help. They're going to need new age outlaw style help, like they used to get with outside interference to retain the WWF Tag Team Champions of the World. It is not looking good. If we look at Eric did a pretty good job of laying out some of these scenarios here, but for those of you following along at home, who are you rooting for going forward? Well, first, the Browns have to beat the Bills, the 6-3 Bills, and then they have to beat Tom Brady next week. So that's where we start. After that, we are rooting for the Jets, Dolphins, Chargers, Ravens, and Bengals all to lose as many games as they possibly can lose, knowing that those teams play each other. I don't really see a path forward here, but if we stick within the division here, that makes things a little easier to sort of think about here. Potentially, the Ravens can lose to people. They can throw a stinker out there. The Bengals are very hot and cold. So let's take a look at who they're playing. The Bengals get the last place Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, we had to throw one of those in there. That makes us feel a little better. The last place Pittsburgh Steelers are 4.5-point underdogs. They are at home against the Bengals. In theory, the last place Pittsburgh Steelers could win that game. And then we get to the Ravens. They are 13-point favorites versus our friend Baker Mayfield and the Panthers. We probably need both of those to go in our favor here and to beat Josh Allen and the first place in the AFC, actually second place now in the AFC East, Buffalo Bills, in what has the potential to be Blizzard Bowl 2. Now, they did win Blizzard Bowl 1, 8-0. Thank you, Derek Anderson, my guy. But that was a long time ago, and this team seems to be incapable of stopping the run. Historically bad, actually.
Eric, let's go to you here next year. Number 3.
Yeah, so I'm looking at each facet of the team, making 3 possible changes. Kevin Stefanski handing over the reins of play calling to Alex Van Pelt, possibly elevating a position coach. I tagged Chris Kiffin. I think he's the most experienced role to defensive coordinator, and give the old heave ho to Joe Woods. And elevate Stephen Bravo Brown. I'm sure there's a military reference there with Bravo, but I'm not going to use it because I can't think of it right now. Just special teams coordinator over Mike Prefer. Obviously, I don't think any of those are going to happen because we've already gone past the bye week. But of those 3 options, I think the easiest and the less amount of stress, I guess, for the team would be Stefanski handing the play calling over to Alex Van Pelt. That hasn't necessarily been the problem. I would really like for the defense to improve, but I think there might be too much turmoil or too much change that's going to happen within the defense. I'd like to really, personally, that would be my choice. I'd like to see what Chris Kiffin can do in his role. I think he has a pretty strong unit, at least on the edge. Obviously, the defensive tackles, he didn't have much to work with, and you can kind of see these fruits not bearing. He has been almost poached by his brother to coach at Ole Miss this year, but he rescinded that offer and returned back to the Browns. So he's shown his value that somebody wants him. But I mean, I guess I would like to see at least some opportunity that maybe we can hand the ball off to Nick Chubb a little bit more in closing of the game, give Kareem Hunt a little more opportunities, not put Jacoby Brissett, at least in the next 2 games, in situations where he has to come up with big plays. So, yeah, I would really like to see what Alex Van Pelt can do with this offense. They won a playoff game against the Steelers. Granted, they were gifted a tremendous amount of points, but I'm at a point with this season is it can't be worse kind of thing. And in theory, yes, it can technically be, but I don't really want to bother with that. Let's just see what we got going here. So, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of shuffling the deck a little bit and, handing over the reins. So, that's my my next guess.
It wasn't too long ago that we beat the Bengals. Things were looking up. So a bad week against the Dolphins will do to you. Drew, number 2.
Oh, wait, it can get worse, Eric, and it's about to right now, because I'm going to take us down a trip, or take us on a trip down memory lane, I should say. The second reason that the Browns can make the playoffs is they can invent a flux capacitor and go back to week 2 in the regular season, a week where they were up 30-17 with under 2 minutes to play, and find a way to close out Joe Flacco, University of Delaware's own Joe Flacco, and the New York Jets. You win that game. You find a way to either make a 54-yard field goal to beat the Los Angeles Chargers, or knowing you only needed a field goal to tie, you have 1st and 10 at the Atlanta 41. Maybe you're in field goal range already. What you probably cannot do is go incomplete pass, penalty, sack, interception. And if you can avoid those things, you find a way to win maybe all 3 of those games, or at the very least 2 out of the 3. I'm not even talking about the close loss to the Ravens that they could have had. This is a season that you look back on. This team wasn't good enough to overcome all of these games where they should have won. You could maybe overcome one of them. Potentially, if we include the Ravens game in there, there's 4 sort of options for winnable games. Maybe you could overcome 2 of those losses, but to sit here and try to overcome all 4 of them, no way. This team is simply not constructed in a way that they can afford to throw 4 games away and still make the playoffs. Not in this AFC, not with the rest of the division the way it is. It's unfortunate they had a very sort of wide path at one point to get to the playoffs. And when you're there, who knows what happens, right? You get up on somebody, your run defense isn't as big of a deal when a team has to pass to catch up. But it didn't happen. And, it can be painful to look back at those, but, you look back at those 4 games and maybe, Kevin looks back at those in the offseason and realize, hey, some of these things do have to change. Let's see what we can do to get better. And that's my hope going forward, because we can't go into the next season without anything changing, with the same roster philosophy that defensive tackles and linebackers don't matter. We can't go into next year with the same coaching philosophy of keep everything in front of them and don't try to fool anybody. Something has to change here, and I hope those 4 games help deliver that in the offseason.
All right, a very good reason as to why to believe in the Browns for the playoffs here. I'm going to go with number 1, and 1 might just be the first reason why the Browns might actually make it into the playoffs, and that is because the moon and the stars are going to align, brother. And the stars on this team are still very good. A good season looking back with Myles Garrett, with Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb having a great season. Saquon Barkley has surpassed him a bit. Derrick Henry has been playing very well for the Titans. But Nick Chubb is a star. Myles Garrett is a star. And I hate to say it, but Deshaun Watson is going to come back. And will he be a star? It could be the cherry on top of how this has been a very frustrating season, or it could give us hope for next year. There is a slim chance that the Browns can pull it together, get close to the playoffs, just make it interesting. We need to not see anything like we saw against the Dolphins. And hopefully we see snow or whatever it's going to take to make this a close game on Sunday.